Thank you very much, Mr. Lee, for the kind of nice introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and friends and colleagues, it's really an honor for me to be here. I've been here in 2006 World City Summit, and this is a very good event, actually. In this in focus session on Southeast Asia, let me first argue that the Southeast Asia urban development cannot be separated with the discussion of the so-called roadmap of ASEAN Economic Community. Right, probably it's not too clear, but the issues is our leaders already committed. We do have a kind of one single community, East Asian Economic by 2015, actually. And if you can look at the document, it is very clear that the objectives, of course, to increase well-being of Southeast Asian people, but through the connectivity. This is the keyword. So if you can see from this, the keyword connectivity is very important, especially physical connectivity, which is our event right now is very close related. Of course, at the end, it's people-to-people connectivity, but the physical connectivity is related to the big issues on networking of logistics, sea transport, air transport, land transport, and many things. So we would like to remind us that we do have a kind of big umbrella on the urban development issues in Southeast Asia. If you look at this, there is a task force for connectivity in the ASEAN context. So we can approach your national government and then together with private sector and all stakeholders can gear up to have a kind of urban development in Southeast Asia to be a kind of a center of production network and also increasing the global competitiveness to engage with the world market. That's what we are here, actually. Right, just to give you flavor on who we are, actually. We are 10 Southeast Asian nations. The biggest one is, in terms of area and population, Indonesia. But in terms of per capita, it's pretty, still 4,000. But Singapore is only 700 square kilometers, but income per capita using purchasing power parity is around 52,000 US dollars. So there are a variety of characteristics of Southeast Asian nation in terms of density, in terms of how big the population is also, in terms of, say, for example, the reach or not of the different countries there. So this is our area, starting from the 10 countries up there, down China, go through Indonesia. There are a lot of, as Mr. Lee told us, that more and more urbanized regions in this area. And there are a lot of new development, a new challenge on the growing cities due to a pressure of urbanizations. This just to show you, to give a flavor to what extent the connectivity is already planned throughout Asia. And the transportation route, which is Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, and others, have some portion of plans to establish later on in the futures to this land transport, but also air transport and also sea transport. So most of the ASEAN network, highway or lands or air, mainly in the urban area. So that's why physical connectivity is very relevant to what we are here right now. Uh, Mr. Yodi told us that growing urbanization in Southeast Asia, data from 1970 to 2010 show us that any country in Southeast Asia is experiencing rapid urbanization. Indonesia, for example, so 4.2. China, India, of course, this is the whole Asia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand. And this due to the natural transformation to some extent of our economy from agriculture to manufacturing and to services sector. And so urban-based activities or trade, especially in services, is becoming more and more important. Now, I'd like to focus myself to Indonesia. Right, Indonesia is a big island, and Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and also Papua and others. And all of the big islands, are experiencing is growing and growing urbanization. Also, cities is come up. Right now is 98 regional government mayor, but the type of agglomeration is becoming higher and higher. So the potential or the opportunity to do something, especially for private sector, is quite huge. I'm going to talk later on the so-called master plan for acceleration and expansion of our economic development. This is Indonesia, urban and versus rural, and if in the 70s, 70% of people live in an urban area, but right now it's around almost 50% living in an urban area. And in the midterm futures, where our population in 2025, according to National Planning Agency, is 275 million people, which is 67.5% going to living in urban area. So there are a lot of headache to some extent, but there are also a lot of opportunity be there. Right. In short, Indonesia has urbanized rapidly and continued for the midterm. So, as I said, a lot of headaches, but a lot of opportunities. Actually, this creates significant opportunity for Indonesia with urbanization potential to boost regional economic growth and create vibrant cities and metropolitan areas. And let me tell you that there is a study exploring cities in Asia, 70s to 110. 1% of urbanization in China and in India, increasing GDP per capita is 8%. Wow. Or sorry, 6%. But in Thailand, for example, increasing 1% of urbanization, increase the GDP per capita on 6%. Oh, sorry, 8%. But for Indonesia, unfortunately, with Philippines, we not exploring urbanization properly. 1% increase in urbanization, just less 2% of our GDP per capita. So there is a kind of backlog. After the financial crisis, Indonesia is big and then a bit collapse, and we are creeping now to, to catch the performance of neighboring countries. Don't tell Singapore, but Malaysia, Thailand, others, Myanmar, Vietnam, now is growing pretty fast. I'd like to point it out, Indonesia has potential to substantially increase its economic return from urbanization if, of course, we need kind of strong leadership. Yesterday, we already heard a lot of discussion on the role of, leadership, visionary, and also adopt the so-called broadly good governance. We have got a lot of problem in governance, and also how the, especially people in the government serving the people, citizens. A study show us that recently there are 44 agglomeration area in Indonesia, starting from Jakarta, Surabaya, which is more than 5 million, and 1 until 10 million. Seeing some data here, around 13 metropolis, and also it's medium size of agglomerations happenings. But the concentration is still in Java and Sumatra. Kalimantan, other eastern region is still lag behind. Of course, larger cities in general are more productive because of externalities. There are some additional infrastructures, skilled people coming there, and so the city as a center of production capacity is becoming growing and growing. And here is just telling you that Java and Bali continue to play a dominant role. So you from private sector, for example, still the favorite place to invest is still in Java, and to some extent in Singapore, in Sumatra, for example, but not the other regions. So we can invite for the private sector to explore on Indonesian data later on. The third and second layer of agglomeration of city government are struggling with the supporting the so-called providing basic services, education, health, poverty, and kind of that. And also there are some bad and good lesson learned. There are some cities performs quite good, but the rest is still struggling. So, okay. So look at it, the Java. Java is sort of brown there. There's a lot of activities there. The problem we face is this, especially so the core of cities lead in economic output, but urban periphery also important role, driver growth agglomeration, especially in Jakarta area, the so-called Bogor, Tangerang, Bekasi, and Depok, and others also regions like Surabaya and surrounding. The problem we are facing is an inefficient land market. It's not like in Singapore or other countries probably. We are really headache on this. Okay, and we do have a kind of real backlog of transportation. So both land and sea transport. Now, due to liberalized air transport, people is moving around, spreading to the Indonesian cities. But for the middle or lower income class, they need a kind of sea transport, land transport. We lack of this compared with neighboring countries. And also, since the ASEAN crisis, the capital expenditure is kind of to some extent stagnated. Before the crisis, 5 to 7% of capital expenditure to GDP is expanded, but right now it's only 2 or 3%. So we are, I think, we should looking for kind of re-engineering financial issues in this case. Just to give you a flavor of water resources, sanitations, electricity, and roads. Road is, as I again and again mentions, 2004 expanded only 12% throughout Indonesia, but the owner of motorbike or motor vehicle is 80%. You can imagine how crowded city in Indonesia right now. So we need kind of proper advanced transport system. Then, of course, we still do have a lot of critical issues: housing, urban environment. Although we committed to reducing emission 26% toward 2020, and in urban area, energy, transportation, electricity, industry, committed to, more friendly to environment, waste management, and so on and so on. And let me close that we now like to open and boost our effort in expanding or accelerating our development effort. So the connectivity issues, because China, India, and other Southeast Asia is growing, so Indonesia cannot reap that kind of, quote unquote trickle down effect if we Indonesia is not, tight, or the connectivity in our region is loose, for example. So that's why there are a lot of discussion right now in the government, in private sector, that we would like to, some urban center area is working to invite a lot of investor in many aspects actually. So, in conclusion, the so-called master plan, the acceleration and expansion of Indonesia should increase connectivity among major urban areas, not just in Indonesia, but also to Southeast Asia, but also to the global market. But governance issues is very critical. Lots of government sector in Indonesia. So the proper and innovative policy and investment strategy is needed so that the policy impact of Indonesia's rapid pace of urbanization will greater, and then it has been achieved so far. Thank you very much.